or something deeper, more unsettling? And what if this transformation had its roots in forgotten events, mysterious places, vanished islands? Imagine a tranquil area in Portugal, the district of Coimbra. At first glance, nothing remarkable. Picturesque villages, fields tended by farmers, remote hamlets. But wait, if I translate the names of these villages from old maps, a strange world unfolds. Something unsettling, unexpected. Who would have thought that a small corner of Portuguese countryside could conceal clues to such a murky past? And then, there's that ancient map. Have you ever heard of the continent Mu? A place that some theories claim existed before sinking into the abyss. Was it just a legend? A creation of bold cartographers? Perhaps. But then, what about these words that seem to testify to its existence? Mutant, trouble, monsoon, debris, and even Portsmouth, a port city that strangely resonates in this enigma. Researchers believe Mu was destroyed by a colossal catastrophe, and not far from this forgotten territory lies an equally enigmatic place, the island of Nan Madol. It's this island that we are going to explore together. Let's go back a century. In 1914, a German researcher named Paul Hembrook becomes intrigued by Nan Madol. What he discovers is beyond belief. He identifies 92 artificial islets, all interconnected by channels teeming with electric eels. Yes, you heard that right. Electric eels. A complex engineering feat. Islands entirely constructed by humans, defying the technical capabilities of their time. And that's not all. Over 800 stone structures are found, ranging from massive fortification walls to a main temple built with megalithic blocks. These imposing and precise constructions seem designed for something far grander than everyday use. Was it an advanced civilization, long forgotten? Or a fragment of an even older past, linked to territories now submerged? So, what remains of all this? A series of intertwined mysteries, from Nan Madol to Mu, through the conquering Europe. But above all, a question. What if all of this is more connected than it seems? What do these places and names seek to tell us? And most importantly, what is left to discover? Imagine a mysterious island, lost in the waters of the Pacific, where gigantic structures defy all logic. At Nan Madol, the ruins speak of an enigmatic past, of craftsmanship that we still struggle to comprehend today. It's not just an architectural curiosity. It's a puzzle that harks back to a time when man, nature, and something inexplicable seemed to coexist. Surrounding the buildings, a 5-meter-high wall, built from cyclopean blocks, still stands proudly, defying time. But what could such a complex of megaliths have been used for? According to reconstructions, this place was far from being a tropical Venice. The canals are too narrow for large boats to navigate, and the passages aren't wide enough for goods to pass through. Even the shallow waters, where only a few creatures like crocodiles or snakes could survive, render any idea of a port utterly absurd. So, if it wasn't a maritime trade center, what was it? Local legends recount fascinating tales, often dismissed by traditional researchers. But faced with historical falsifications or omissions, these myths might contain fragments of truth that we've overlooked. According to indigenous accounts, Nan Madol was a ritual center for mysterious priests who came from afar. They organized an annual expiatory ceremony called Funk and Sapf, where a sacred turtle was offered to a revered saltwater eel named Nansamal. A strange tradition, isn't it? The sacred temple at the heart of the complex even had a dedicated pool, likely for hosting these ceremonies. But it didn't stop there. The canals and lagoons also seemed to serve ongoing practices, including the breeding of marine more complex experiments, let's delve into a bold hypothesis: the idea of genetic hybrids created between humans and mollusks. This theory was initially proposed years ago by a blogger from Tbilisi, later picked up and expanded upon by various researchers. Frescoes, sculptures, bas-reliefs, and even ancient myths seem to support this possibility. What if these hybrids weren't just flights of fancy, but why mollusks, specifically octopuses? Perhaps because of their blue blood. You've probably heard of the phrase blue blood, used to denote elites. But what if it's not just a metaphor? Octopuses actually have blue blood. Is this a coincidence? Or does it hide a truth that we're still hesitant to face? This mystery, blending science, mythology, and archaeology, compels us to ask, how far did ancient knowledge venture? What do the ruins of Nan Madol truly conceal? The phenomenon becomes even more fascinating when you discover that this creature turns blue when exposed to air. Why? Because instead of hemoglobin, it contains hemocyanin, a compound based on copper rather than iron. Intriguing, right? It seems that at the very beginning of hybridization, many creatures had organs and body parts of a cephalopod, making them deeply different from the humans we know today. Take, for example, the many legends of Melusine, a serpent woman, or rather a mollusk-shaped creature with tentacles in place of legs and a life almost exclusively aquatic. The tales reveal that this entity could shapeshift, becoming a serpent, a fish, or even a strange aquatic being, never venturing out on Saturdays. Doesn't that detail strike you as odd? She deliberately avoided any human contact during those times. Now, everything starts to make sense. Perhaps that's why Nan Madol has such a unique structure, half submerged in water. The very idea of inserting genetic material into human DNA to turn it into a tool for capturing seems outrageous to some. Yet, there is research showing that interspecies hybridization is not only possible, but is sometimes even practiced. We were taught in school that this was impossible, but today, with advancements in genetics, scorpion genes can be inserted into other species, and the possibilities seem endless. And what about the cases where half-human, half-animal hybrids have emerged? In some areas, where zoophilia is practiced, such events have been recorded. Officially, science claims it's impossible, but the facts are there. Hybrid creatures are born without any scientific manipulation. But let's return to our octopuses. What's so special about these creatures? Cephalopods, in particular, have astonishing characteristics, including a certain cruelty. Their appearance on Earth remains a mystery. Biologically speaking, octopuses have a highly developed brain with remarkable cognitive abilities. And perhaps we don't fully understand them yet. Researchers claim they have hypnotic powers, and it's still uncertain who, between us and these creatures, is truly studying the other. The brain of an octopus is shaped like a donut, surrounding its esophagus, which, unsurprisingly, influences their often selfish and mercantile behavior. Their 3 hearts give them exceptional endurance. In fact, many animal psychologists consider them the smartest of all invertebrates. Their ability to learn, their memory, their capacity to distinguish geometric shapes, recognize human faces, and adapt to their environment are impressive. These animals can even become tame if you spend enough time with them. Octopuses are also capable of modifying their brains to adapt to specific tasks. They possess rare adaptation qualities and can squeeze through the smallest cracks. On top of that, they have the fascinating ability to change the color of their skin for camouflage. As for their reproduction, it's equally astounding. Some cephalopod species are hermaphrodites and can change sex from one year to the next. Don't you find creatures fascinating? Doesn't it remind you of something? But what's even more fascinating is the octopus's method of reproduction. The male has a special tentacle called the hectocotylus, which develops in a small sac between the second and fourth arms on the left side. Once it has accumulated enough seminal fluid, this organ miraculously detaches from the body and goes in search of a female. That's already amazing, isn't it? But nature doesn't stop there. After some time, if the octopus doesn't change sex, this penis will regrow. It sounds like a story from a fantasy tale, doesn't it? This self-sufficient, almost magical process ultimately leads to deeper reflection. There are mysterious legends about marine rituals, seemingly linked to strange creatures like the sea eel. But no, it's not an eel. It's actually the hectocotylus of a male octopus. Turtle shells, on the other hand, were used to mix genetic elements, collected and combined with human eggs. Ancient civilizations engaged in practices of creating hybrids. And these hybrids, or what were called humans, were supposed to possess specific characteristics such as adaptability, selfishness, and above all, great cruelty towards their own kind. What could this possibly mean? They were perfect soldiers, creatures designed for conquest. So, you're probably wondering, where was this complex technological complex, this sophisticated equipment where these hybrid beings were cultivated? Personally, I have never seen or analyzed these facilities. But during World War II, the Japanese explored Nan Madol and discovered a multitude of gigantic sarcophagi, as well as platinum. They took away these sarcophagi, melted them down, and sold them, which led to a sharp drop in the price of platinum worldwide. So, could these huge platinum coffins have been used to cultivate humans? That's a complex question. It's possible that they were elements of a vast complex, a collection of refrigerators, energy devices, or other equipment related to ancient experiments. But look, for example, at this strange material dating back to the late 19th century. When you observe images of Polynesian gods who resemble more aliens or amphibians, everything starts to make sense. Where do they come from? Who are they really? And why are they revered as sacred objects? The mysteries are numerous, and some answers may lie buried beneath the surface of history. What do you think? Well, why were the Maoris cannibals? Just an innocent habit? No, it was much more than that. A national tradition, an act steeped in unimaginable brutality, directed against their own kind, or even those who did not resemble them. Take the journals of James Cook, where he describes cannibal attacks on entire villages. It wasn't about survival, not a story of desperate hunger. No, it was a bloody orgy, an explosion of sadism and raw violence, a barbarity that defies all logic, all taste, even the most macabre. The Maoris tortured, killed, and butchered far more victims than they could ever consume. Why? For dominance, for the sheer pleasure of destruction. It's not clear, but what is clear is the extent of their savagery. And yet, compare that to the Spanish conquistadors who, centuries later, rushed into the lands of the Americas. They too left behind traces of unfathomable violence. With their gleaming armor and much more sophisticated weapons, they crushed everything in their path. The Native Americans in South America faced an even more ruthless threat. And now, let's go even further. This story of genetic laboratories on Nan Madol, the creation of hybrids, part human, part mollusk, seems absurd, doesn't it? Just a wild theory. But think again. Some descendants of these so-called creatures do not see it as absurdity. In the harbor, in the Misericordia Museum, there is a strange artifact, an object that perhaps could challenge our certainties. But what is it? And what else does it conceal from us? It must be said that it was still there recently, but after an article published by a blogger known under the pseudonym Asisuera, the object was mysteriously removed. This artifact, known as the Iron Sculpture by Rui Chavez, was positioned just beside the main entrance of Casa do Despacho. From there, it extended outward, forming a jet resembling blood that ended its fall in a splashing drop on the ground. And in front of this, nothing less than a true hectocotylus of an asmonogue. Everything coincides: the shape, the meaning, and the fact that this sculpture disappeared as soon as the affair began to attract attention says a lot, doesn't it? They read our articles, they watch our videos, so let's get to the heart of the mystery of Nan Madol. What was the purpose of this incredible cyclopean structure? Mass production of cloned armies, hybrids designed to conquer the world, predators of humanity. According to accounts, mysterious beings from beyond the ocean enslaved the local inhabitants, forcing them to build this factory of hybrid monsters. Let's reflect for a moment. There's an old saying, it's easier to fan the flames with someone else's hands. And what better way to conquer Earth than by creating an army of slaves on site, letting them do all the bloody work while they observed from afar? But where did this wild army go? Accounts point to it: Western Europe, first Portugal, then Spain. What if nearly all the attributes we believe to be European were actually remnants of the hybrid invaders? But that's a story for another time. Every human carries within them the genes of countless ancestors, and we should never forget the experiments that some entities might have conducted on humanity. If you feel a strange attraction to what is forbidden, an inclination toward violence or unexplained hatred, you must fight with all your might against these darknesses encoded in your heritage. There's a fascinating theory. Skills acquired during one's lifetime could be anchored in DNA and passed down to future generations. But remember, the gods have given us a precious gift: free will. It's up to us to choose our path. So, did you know that science, with all its advancements, sometimes hides mysteries far stranger than we could imagine? Take a moment to ponder this idea. What if some of the things that fascinate us today have their roots in memories buried within our genetics? Intriguing, isn't it? But wait, it's about to get even weirder. Imagine for a moment this fascination, quite widespread in certain parts of the world, with strange stories or drawings where women interact with marine creatures like octopuses. Yes, I'm talking about that famous hentai, the Japanese art that intrigues and, let's admit it, sometimes disturbs. Why does it resonate so much with the collective imagination? And more importantly, why do men seem so fascinated by this idea, even though it appears totally absurd? Could it stem from some kind of genetic memory, a reminiscence of a deeply buried past or desire? Is it frightening or just bewildering? That's for you to decide, but hold on tight, because we're just getting started with surprises. Have you heard about the recent advances in biotechnology? Despite formal bans on human cloning, some countries, yes, including China and other global powers, have reportedly crossed an incredible threshold: the creation of artificial matrices. These machines, capable of growing human beings from embryos, raise a multitude of questions. Where do these embryos come from? Are they genetically modified? And most importantly, for what purpose are these beings being manufactured? A burgeoning human cloning factory, but shh, we'll never be told the truth about their intentions. And now, brace yourself even tighter, because we're moving away from science to explore even stranger narratives. In Portugal, yes, in that sunny little country, some regions bear names, let's say, quite unsettling. Imagine villages named Fused Embryos, Guardian of Embryos, River of Genes, or even board of Jews and chimeric embryos. And that's not all. There are reportedly places like sheep embryos, zebra embryos, or even black embryos. Yes, you heard that right. Who named these places, and why? Was it a reference to forgotten experiments, practices? A total mystery. So, what do you think about all this? These stories, these coincidences, these names? Is it mere chance or a dark truth that someone is trying to hide from us? Share your thoughts, and most importantly, keep your eyes open, because here, it might just be the beginning.